have no idea what Damsel was about. No, I mean, like, we all know what Damsel was about, but I have no idea why anyone would greenlight it. So I can only speculate that someone intentionally created the movie to get people mad because it's super lazy and they just want to have people online use it as clips. And by doing that, you get attention. So if you're making a movie for a streaming service and you just want clicks, and everybody else already has the streaming service, and they justify it, but by well, sometimes something good comes up and blah blah blah, and there's old movies that are nice, and yeah, Netflix is really useful, right? When you're going on vacation, I guess, or when you want to listen to something, watch something at work or whatever, right? And I literally think this is just clickbait. I think Damsel is designed to be a clickbait movie. Like that movie with the hot blonde who used to who played that chick from Doctor Who at one time. Carey Mulligan. Carey Mulligan, blonde, goes around killing misandrous dudes, and every dude in the universe except her dad maybe is misogynist. Every dude in the universe except for her dad is a misogynist, and she looks cute and she fucks with people, and at the end of the movie, instead of giving me like a proper ending, like, spoiler alert, like, she basically commits suicide as a nurse, like, intentionally. And had that movie had a finale, like, you would have at least had like a point about society supposedly being sexist, because that's like the easiest thing in the world to get over, because her crazy friend like killed herself after having a consensual orgy, and she's a crazy person who goes after dudes and stalks dudes and messes with them, and she literally killed herself. Designed the situation where she gets murdered by her friend's friend, by her friend's supposed rapist, except I am not at all convinced that her friend got raped. I'm pretty sure she just felt ashamed for having a gangbang and just, killed herself. Yeah, that's kind of the movie. It's like, there are movies that try to shoot political messages in your face, to shove political messages in your face, but then you think about it for more than like 10 minutes, right? Like, the opening of the Social Network where fake Mark Zuckerberg is talking to his fake girlfriend that didn't even exist in the real world, right? So it sounds like he's a dick. But then after the movie, you think about it and you think, well, for this breakup to happen, she would have had to date him beforehand. So she would have to know what he's like. And once that's in your head, as you listen to what they're saying, she's baiting him, right? She's baiting him, and he's giving her all the reason in the world for her to break up with him and be mad at him, even though she knows he's just like weird and like bad at understanding people. So being weird and bad at understanding people and not being a perfect boyfriend justifies trapping a guy into this pseudo misogynist trap where he puts his foot in his mouth and she gets to be mad at him. It's like Angel talking. There's like a line from Buffy where Angel's talking to Buffy and he's like, "You're just making things harder to make things easier on yourself." And that's exactly what happens in The Social Network, right? These two fake people, like there's like she literally is making things harder to make things easier on herself because she's a nice girl and she wouldn't just dump a mentally disabled boyfriend just because he's mentally disabled. She'd dump him for generic pseudo sexism reasons. Like I've had like a friend with a who's like silly like that, right? I mean, he's not Mark Zuckerberg, but I have this idiot friend, right? And one time we're in a cab, right? And there's a police report that some guy escaped prison, right? And this is in like one of the 20 biggest cities in Europe. He talks to the cab driver, and within a couple of minutes, they've already made up this whole story about how he was wrongfully accused and he's angry and he's wild and he's blah blah blah, blah like a fucking wild animal, like bullshit, right? I know how silly people's brains operate. Like, rather than going, here's the thing, I like, you're nice, but I think we want different things, or blah 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 blah. Instead of going like, I don't want to like fucking date a person who's mentally weird. I decided not to do that. She just baits him into a trap to get him angry and blah blah blah. And the Social Network, because of this heavy propaganda against rich people doing toxic things, and because it's a social network, blah blah blah, and they were blowing up at the time, has these fanboys online acting like it's the greatest movie in the world, but it's not. It's a fairly basic, like, not fun to watch experience, but at the end of the day, like, what am I watching? Like, fake sexism. I have absolutely no idea whether or not the bus thing with the girls is a thing, because it's Harvard, so it's possible. And that, you know, Spider-Man in the Social Network? Spider-Man in the Social Network did basically fuck all and didn't really contribute, and his shares were not reduced to a fraction of a fraction. They were only slightly reduced. So he's complaining about getting tens of millions, not only like a few 100,000 or whatever it was. Right? Because the guy isn't really doing anything. He's just going around town asking people for money, and he doesn't even know how to use the platform. So, like, that fundamentally alters the meaning of that scene if you use the real number. But you don't use the real number, you use the inflated number where it looks like the guy got really fucked over. When in reality, he was just contributing very, very little, and all these other people were really, 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 really developing stuff. And that hack at the start of that movie took weeks, not a few seconds, right? And Facebook at the time had a competitor. So, yeah, like, there are movies that are just designed to piss you off. And Damsel, you can outline every fucking thing that pisses you off. Why is the mom black? Like, isn't this supposed to be a fantasy world? Okay, fine, the mom's black. This is a fantasy world. Is the dad aware? Like, why is the dad, like, sacrificing her for money and then turns around and tries to save her? Like, that's a very weird thing. Like, his death was pretty meaningless. This was just, like, introduced misogyny bullshit. But it was never really explored, and you have, like, this classic big-time actor. Right? Why would the ending? Why would the this? Why would the that? Okay, so the stepmom is black, and the evil queen is like, I don't want you to be with your family, blah blah blah. But the stepmom doesn't just say that to the kids. She's just, oh, I felt racism or something, so I'm gonna just generally, like, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, it just doesn't make any sense. Isn't there fantasy racism in this world? It just doesn't make any sense. everything is designed to piss you off. Okay, so Millie Bobby Brown is gonna be a badass in a cave, and all she does is jump through one little thing and gets magical healing blue things to fix up her arm in an instant. I think it was her arm. Okay. And there's all these names of girls, right? So the dragon's playing with them. But if the dragon's playing with them, wouldn't the dragon know that they were not royalty? Like, is the dragon bound by a certain oaths? Why did Millie Bobby Brown save the chick who just murdered her dad? Doesn't she feel like, oh, my dad tried to save me, he wasn't such a bad... It's very weird, right? I just listened to this winter something on Spotify a few months ago, right? So season 1 ends with the voice of the guy who played the guy with the cut fingers in Game of Thrones. That guy, like the smart, the simple man who was a smuggler and blah blah blah, whatever his name is, and he's the stepdad to two girls. And randomly at the end of the season 1, he turns super evil to a cartoonish extent that doesn't actually make sense given all that's set up about his character. And then immediately in season 2, instead of the girls more talking about how the dad figure literally killed the boyfriend, which I just go dying blah blah blah. No, instead of that, one of the girls just turns lesbian. Winter. What was it called? Give me a second. It was that chick from the Hannah TV show who played the younger sister, Esme Creed Miles, and she played Impact Winter. That's what it's called, right? Season 1 of Impact Winter. Weird sort of Buffy knockoff minus all the fun characters and right, kind of a Buffy knockoff because her older sister gets special vampire powers or whatever, and she's a slayer basically. Right, so you have one of the characters be a simp dude, and the dad is the Onion Knight. I think his name was the Onion Knight. Right, so at the end of the story of season 1, because his daughter has been turned into a vampire, he's like, I have a responsibility to kill her. But he does. But the way that he tries to kill her, he shoots her boyfriend. But there's absolutely no reason why he would shoot her boyfriend. There is a reason. He could have shot her boyfriend in the leg, but not the stomach. But he shoots him in the stomach with a crossbow, which guarantees his death. And she's has to kill him, kill her dad, her stepdad. But why would he shoot the kid in the stomach? There's no reason for him to want to murder the kid. There is every reason to want to use the kid as bait for her bloodlust, but not to murder the kid. Right? And in the second season, instead of the girls talking and mourning about their dad's death and everything that's happened there, they just turned the little sister lesbian. I'm not even fucking kidding. It's like a snap on the fingers. Like something snapped in the writer's minds, or maybe someone just replaced the writers. It was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever experienced in an audiobook style format. Like all of a sudden, they just forget about their dad and then just fuck around, and one of the girls is like, oh, and I feel like I'm a lesbian. But the last book, she was all about boys. So it was intentionally designed to get you to talk about the thing. And I feel like it's the exact same thing with Damsel. People are just trying to get us to talk about the thing. But why would they do that when you have Millie Bobby Brown and blah 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 blah? There has to be some sort of contract loophole It's all about how many people click on a thing and watch hours, instead of how many of the watch hours are negative and how many of the watch hours are positive. Because it's Millie Bobby Brown, right? We know she can act, right? There's this enormous budget there. Like, it's like a 12-year-old can fix this script. Like, for one thing, it could be like, oh, here's a magical elixir that keeps, that fixes sickness. Therefore, the island that provides the magical elixir to the world that fixes sickness, that whoever makes it has global influence and has to maintain distant ties with various royal and noble factions, but not take too much of a side. And like the little kingdom of Billy Bobby Brown's parents being like out of the way and not really tied to any significant faction, like you just give them money and they're like, we agree to a courtship, and then she goes and meets the prince, and the prince is being charming, and he's like, oh, my twin brother and my cousin are also getting their girls right now. I apologize. It's just the society we live in. I wish I could make you feel more special, but it is what it is, or something like that. And that would make him more interesting and blah, 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 blah. So you can have the romance develop on a boat on the way. And when they get to where they're going, right, with a fleet of ships, right, then it's like the gradual isolation and blah, 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 etc. Right. So you can have like this court magician, like, apply a spell on someone to pretend to be the twin brother, right? When it's really only just one prince. And you have these three girls, blah, 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 blah. And one of the girls marries her prince first before the other two girls. Right. So maybe the three girls like marry him in sequence every week, like 1 week in one girl's wedding, yeah, and then skip a week, blah, 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 blah. And the trick to getting them killed is the prince getting the girls pregnant, right? So if the princes get the princesses, their wives, pregnant, then you actually have the kid inside the bodies, so the dragon would actually sense royal blood in them, right? And that would be an explanation to why that thing with the ritual happens, and plus a spell happens and whatever, right? And when the little sister is being tossed in, it could just be a spell to make her smell like the prince's blood and not like anything sexual, right? So that would be like a legitimate weird thing that makes sense in context. And why was the dragon a woman? Why wasn't the dragon a man? Like, you could have like the dragon be a man, and like the wife of the dragon could have turned to stone in sadness, and the girl like falls down the shaft and is the first girl to get to the sad dragon and be like, wake up, please. And she's like, please, please, please tell him to stop. And the wife dragon is like, what the hell have you been doing? And the husband dragon is, these people ruined our fucking future, blah, 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 blah. And there could be like a magic dragon battle where the wife is more pure, whereas the husband has succumbed to vengeance. And that would have been like an actual story to actually watch and talk about, but there was no effort put into Damsel at all. You know, it's not really a movie. It's like an event for you to talk about. No rewatch value.